Threading Wheeler & Wilson's number 8 sewing machine. Before we thread it, I want to show you just the basic parts. The spool pin is here. The thread is going to go through what the manual calls a thread check, sort of a pre-tensioner here. It's going to go around the tension, they call it a tension pulley, 1.5 times. This is different than modern tensioners. If you've ever taken a modern tensioner apart, there are 2 tension discs that move freely. They're not attached to one another. In this case, they're a fixed unit and they don't move with respect to one another. This nut here, you can tighten up what is a leaf spring behind here, and it does affect the tension, but it's my belief that affects it by changing the speed with which the tension pulley can move. It's not exerting more tension on the thread. So from the spool pin, through the thread check, around the tension pulley 1.5 times. Now my manual mentions another piece here which doesn't exist on this machine, so that makes me think there's more than one of these. It will go here through the take-up arm. You'll see that. Then the thread will come back this way through this pigtail thread guide. Then it will come over here through this thread guide, which again doesn't look like the one in the manual. It just then drops straight down to the needle without another specific thread guide, but there's a little groove right here where the thread lays, and then it will thread from right to left. So let's have a look at that. When you thread it, you need to pull out a fair amount of thread to start with. I'll explain why as we go along. So through the thread check there, around the tension pulley, once, and again another half of a time. Then it's got to go through the take-up lever, which is in 2 pieces, which you can't see from the front, but you can tell by its effect, making sure that you don't lose that extra half turn on the tension pulley. Then through the pigtail thread guide. Then I had to guess on this one since I don't have a picture of it in my manual, but my guess has worked. I thread this through this hole from back to front. This rotates or moves. I move it up just so that I can get the thread through there, and I push it down in that slot. See it move a little bit. And I want to mention that the thread is now very, very tight going through this pulley, which is why I said to pull thread off, a lot of thread off in the beginning, and I didn't pull enough off. And now you can't pull that through there. It's very tight. But the take-up arm seems to do the job, so I'm just going to pull it out a little bit more, make the machine move, and you see that I don't know if you can see, the tension pulley is rotating as that moves through. So now I have a little bit more extra thread. Okay. And now I'll thread it from right to left. And you'll see that the thread has sort of just fallen right into that groove right there. So that's the threading of the Wheeler & Wilson number 8. Now when you remove your work from the machine, you also have to make sure you've pulled out your work to the side far enough to have plenty of thread, because as the tension disc, as this take-up arm moves back, it will pull thread back up. So you have to have plenty or you will unthread your needle as that tension arm moves back towards the right. And that's the threading of the upper thread on Wheeler & Wilson's number 8 sewing machine.